Baruch 3:26-28. There were the giants famous from the beginning, that were of so great stature and so expert in war. Those the Lord did not choose, neither did he give the way of knowledge to them. But they were destroyed because they had no wisdom and perished through their own foolishness. So specifically the giants before the flood, the pre-diluvian, they get destroyed, and we're going to see that judgment pronounced over them. We're going to see what happened to them. And the Book of Jubilees provides a great witness for that.
It does. Yeah. By the way, that wisdom, I mean, that we're talking about like the wisdom of God. What's going to mean the path, the way of knowledge, just the behavior of God, the commandments.
Right.
So yeah, if they trusted in their strength and not God's strength, they had no faith. They relied on their own ability to take and plunder. Then yeah, they're going to just trust themselves and be like, a true living reflection of an inflated ego.
What does Enoch 10:13-14 say?
As to Gabriel also the Lord said, go to the biters, to the reprobates, to the children of fornication, and destroy the children of fornication, the offspring of the watchers, from among men. Bring them forth and excite them one against another. Let them perish by mutual slaughter. For length of days shall not be theirs. They shall all entreat you, but their fathers shall not obtain their wishes respecting them. For they shall hope for eternal life, that they may live, each of them 500 years.
All right. So who is he talking to? To Gabriel, the Lord said, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Gabriel's one of those angels that we talked about last episode, and angels of his presence, one of those 7 holy watchers. And he's telling them, God is telling Gabriel and these angels to go and excite them against one another. And so I'm picturing like how angels are able and capable to give people visions. So maybe that was one of the ways they used to excite the giants against each other. And it says perish by mutual slaughter. That just means kill each other, right?
Oh, I mean, hey, if we're talking about people with giants with no wisdom and they don't understand the path of light, which is the commandments, it doesn't take that much when you're dealing with wickedness. I mean, look at every movie ever where they did try to do a drug deal amongst 2 bad characters, right? There's always a gunfight because they can't just be chill around each other, right? They're always jockeying for power and position. It goes with the territory of having no wisdom. And so, yeah, it probably wouldn't have taken too much, in my opinion. And also, one of your previous slides where you're showing the flood and it showed the people drowning, I think it was drawn to depict giants drowning in that flood. But I'm so glad that you included this verse, because I was going to make commentary to say from this verse, I suspect that the giants weren't even alive when the flood actually happened. Like they'd all killed each other. If I'm putting all the pieces together, my conclusion would be the flood was more like cleansing the earth
I see.
from the bloodshed, as opposed to truly drowning people. Yes, nothing with the breath of life that didn't get on the ark lived because of the flood. But from my understanding, I don't even think the giants were still alive at that point. There was just been animals and some people left of mankind. So because mankind was complicit with this bad behavior as well. They were worshiping the giants and the fallen angels. They were doing their behaviors being taught to them, striving to learn the secrets of heaven, which the watchers were more than ready to transgress and reveal. So that's just my thought. What do you say, you brother?
Yeah, I believe it's possible, right? Because we see them killing each other off. Gabriel excites them to do so, and they were already consuming men, turning against the men. And then God also says that the hearts and thoughts of men were continually wicked. And so that they themselves were committing cannibalism and blood drinking and destroying each other. And so, it's a good speculation to imagine that there wasn't a lot left of the giants or mankind, maybe even when the flood came. So, yeah, I follow you. So what do we got next? Another from Enoch
12:5-7.
Yeah. Then the Lord said to me, Enoch, scribe of righteousness, go. Tell the watchers of heaven who have deserted the lofty skies, sounds like Jude, and their holy everlasting station, who have been polluted with women and have done as the sons of men do by taking to themselves wives, and who have been greatly corrupted on the earth, that on the earth they shall never obtain peace and remission of sin, for they shall not rejoice in their offspring. They shall behold the slaughter of their beloved, shall lament for the destruction of their sons, and shall petition forever, but shall not obtain mercy and peace. So, man, these giants turned on men, killing men. And so that's basically the giants are killing God's children. And now, as the just God that he is, he's got the angels having to watch the destruction of their sons. It's rough, but it's fair.
You mean kind of like when the Egyptians had to watch their firstborn because they
Yeah,
killed the firstborn of the Hebrews?
that's right. So he's pretty consistent, isn't he?
It's almost as if he's going by a law.
Right. He's got a standard of behavior that he himself adheres to.
And of course, this moment where this is one of the first times that the petition of the rebellious angels is being denied. I just see in my head that scene from Seinfeld where that dude's like, "No soup for you." You know, he's just like, can you imagine creating an entire race of beings that went and slaughtered everything that your heavenly Father created, that he loves so much, that he sent you to come guide and teach and protect, and instead of doing that, you created your own little rebellious force that went and cannibalized them and
just greatly corrupted,
pillaged and corrupted them in every way possible, and then turning around to the Creator again and going, my bad, can we overlook this? Like, it's just the audacity, like it's just crazy to me. Yeah.
They created the absence and the opposite of peace and created much sin, and so as a result they obtained no peace.
They have no peace. And to me, this is a great example of how when you turn from the Creator's instructions, his wisdom, which is why it was called wisdom earlier in Baruch, you turn from his wisdom, you go insane. Even angels can go insane.
Yeah.
It's amazing how the mind is not built to walk outside of this wisdom. And when you do, all these mental fallacies start happening to the point where it can create, at its most severity, psychosis, which is, literally the unclean spirit's playground. But even at a point like this, with an incredibly powerful, super intelligent angel, it can still create the most illogical thought process ever, which is to say, we've greatly corrupted everything on earth, but please let this one go. You know what I mean? And you're like, bro, you literally shouted for joy and watched this earth be made. You saw how it blessed the Father and the Son, how they loved what was going on. They literally made the earth and the inhabitants therein the focal point of your purpose, and you destroyed it. You think he's going to just let this go? Like, you're insane. You're insane, rebellious angel. So, yeah.
And as a result, they got like the worst punishment that anything has ever received, right? Being chained and in torment and agony until the day of judgment, which is thousands of years later. So it's pretty rough. So finally got to the Book of Jubilees, was well known in 1st century AD. It was lost to most of the Christian world for centuries, preserved only in Ge'ez Ethiopic texts dating to the 15th century. And in 1948, with the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls, 15 Hebrew fragments were found in Jubilees in 5 of the caves at Qumran, indicating that Jubilees was widely used by the Qumran community of believers and being the 6th most prevalent book in that collection. So what does Jubilees 5:5-7 say?
Noah found grace before the eyes of the Lord, and against the angels whom he had sent upon the earth, he was exceedingly wroth. He gave commandment to root them out of all their dominion. He bade us, that means instructed, he instructed the good angels to bind them in the depths of the earth, and behold, they are bound in the midst of them, and are kept separate. And against their sons went forth a command from before his face, that they should be smitten with the sword, and be removed from under heaven.
All right. A couple things here. Exceedingly wroth. God was super angry. Exceedingly wroth, right? He gives commandment to the good angels to go to the bad angels, root them out. So they apparently had a dominion. It's like they had homes or something, right? They had a place where they posted up.
Yeah.
Rooted them out.
They lived amongst mankind.
Mm-hmm. And here's a passage we didn't include in the Tartarus episode that confirms that they were bound in the depths of the earth, and that gives us the location of Tartarus, of Badin.
That's right.
And behold, they're bound in the midst of them and are kept separate. What does it say? Bound in the midst of them. Who's the them?
Wait. Yeah, I'm going to guess it's the other compartments of Sheol.
There you go. That's what I'm thinking too.
Obviously, the heart of the earth is where Sheol is, and there's multiple compartments there, but also it could also have to do with the actual angels that grabbed them and rooted them out and literally took them down into the heart of the earth. To Tartarus, right? They're still there, making sure they don't get released and get out. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Because these angels that would have came and did this are more powerful than the angels that rebelled. So therefore, they can physically remove them and take them to an imprisonment and make sure they stay there as guards. Which is we already know there's angels guarding Sheol. So
it's we talked about how consistent God is, right? He set up cherubim to guard the Garden of Eden, and so he would absolutely. We know that there's Uriel was in place over Tartarus, and we know that there's a hierarchy of angels, which would make sense as to how some of them would be stronger than the others.
Do they ever like swap out? They have schedules where they swap out and they get to go back to heaven for a while, or do they just like hang out down there for 4,000 or 5,000 years? Like, you just kind of wonder, surely there's a swap out. Like there's they change shifts, from time to time with it.
They got teams.
They got teams of people that go and like, oh yeah, I was down there for, 1,000 years, but now I'm back in heaven. And I don't know. I'm sure they swap out.
Because Uriel's over Tartarus, but that doesn't mean he's always down there, because we see him showing up to the prophets.
That's
right.
Yeah.
And they're not omnipotent. They can't be everywhere at once. So interesting. Jubilees 5:9-11. And he sent his sword into their midst, that each should slay his neighbor. And they began to slay each other till they all fell by the sword and were destroyed from the earth. Okay, so this goes along with what you were saying, how there weren't any left by the time the flood actually happened. Okay. And their fathers were witnesses of their destruction. The angels saw the giants being destroyed. And after this, they were bound in the depths of the earth. The angels were forever, until the day of the great condemnation, when judgment is executed on all those who have corrupted their ways and their works before the Lord. And he destroyed all from their places, and there was not left one of them whom he judged, not according to all their wickedness. So another consistent part of God, he judges according to their behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Every word and deed, their actions.
Jubilees 7:21-22 says, "For owing to these three things came the flood upon the earth, namely owing to the fornication wherein the watchers against the law of their ordinances went whoring after the daughters of men, and took themselves wives of all which they chose. And they made the beginning of uncleanness, and they begat sons of the Nephilim. They were all unlike, and they devoured one another. And the giants slew the Nephil, and the Nephil slew the Eljo, and the Eljo slew mankind, and one man slew another."
One man another. Yep. And so I've heard you talk about this passage before, that Jubilees is translated from, remind me, the Greek?
The Greek, yeah.
Greek. So Nephilim could just be another transliteration of Nephilim.
Yeah, which is why I think that I think the Nephilim is like an umbrella term, which is why it's a plural.
Yeah.
But then within there, you have, like it says, it tries to help expound, like they're all unalike. They're not all the same. There's different types of them, which is why then it goes on to express three different types.
Gotcha.
So I don't know what the Eljo are, and I don't know what the Nephil are.
I've heard someone speculate, maybe, or I'm not sure what evidence they went off of, but I've heard somebody compare the Eljos to pygmies, like
super
tiny,
small,
like the little trolls and the little hobbit-looking things.
I just wonder if one of these two words, Nephil or Eljo, since we know what giant is, if the Nephil or Eljo are describing chimeras, like mixtures of men and animals.
Right. Very well could be.
Yeah.
So they just turned against each other, as the angels were told to excite them to do. And there's another confirming witness. Yeah, the beginning of uncleanness. That's alluding to the idea that these were unclean spirits, as we'll see